My ex-girlfriend's sister turned me into a girl. Breakups are supposed to be painful, right? When Lauren left me, I waited for the gut-wrenching sadness to hit, the nights spent drinking away my sorrows, the regret, the desperate need to get her back. But none of that came. Instead, there was nothing. No tears, no longing, no anger, just a hollow emptiness, like I had lost something I was never meant to have in the first place. We had been together for 2 years, but looking back, I realized I had never truly felt seen. Lauren loved the idea of me, the dependable boyfriend, the guy who dressed well enough to take to office parties, who never caused trouble, who blended in. Maybe that was why she got bored. "You're just not man enough for me," she had said during our last fight. "I need someone who takes charge, who wants to be a man. And honestly, I don't think that's you." Her words stung, but not for the reasons she intended. It wasn't the rejection that hurt, it was the truth hidden in her accusation. I had always been different. Not in an obvious way, there was nothing particularly remarkable about me. I was just another guy with a job I tolerated, a social life that revolved around Lauren, and a closet full of neutral-colored shirts. But deep down, there had always been something, a quiet, persistent feeling that I wasn't living the life I was supposed to. I had ignored it for years, dismissing it as uncertainty, or worse, weakness. Because real men didn't feel like that. Real men didn't stand in front of mirrors, wondering what it would be like to look different. Real men didn't feel more comfortable when they softened their features, when they moved with a certain grace, when they imagined what it would be like to exist without the weight of expectations pressing down on them. But Lauren had noticed. She had sensed the hesitation in me, the way I avoided certain conversations, how I never quite fit into the mold she wanted. And in the end, that was why she left. I should have felt free. Instead, I felt lost. And that's when Emma messaged me. At first, I hesitated to respond. Emma was Lauren's younger sister, and while we had always gotten along, we weren't exactly close. She was different from Lauren, edgy, artistic, always pushing boundaries. Where Lauren was poised and polished, Emma was unapologetically herself. "Hey, I heard about the breakup. You okay?" It was a simple message, but something about it felt genuine. Before I could talk myself out of it, I replied, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just trying to figure things out." Her next message came quickly. "You should come over. I think I know exactly what you need." I had no idea what she meant, but part of me wanted to find out. I hesitated outside Emma's apartment, my hand hovering over the doorbell. It had been a few days since Lauren and I had officially broken up, and I still wasn't sure why I was here. What exactly did she mean when she said she knew what I needed? Before I could change my mind, the door swung open. "There you are," Emma said, grinning. "Come in." I stepped inside, taking in the cluttered but cozy space. Art supplies were scattered on the coffee table, half-finished paintings leaned against the walls, and an oversized clothing rack stood in the corner, filled with a mix of casual streetwear and dramatic, feminine outfits. Emma flopped onto the couch, tucking her legs beneath her. "So be honest. You're relieved, aren't you?" I blinked. "What?" "The breakup," she said, tilting her head. "You don't look heartbroken. You look untethered, like someone who just got out of a cage but hasn't realized they can fly yet." I opened my mouth to deny it, but nothing came out. Instead, I exhaled sharply, rubbing the back of my neck. "I don't know what I feel," I admitted. Emma studied me for a moment, then smirked. "I do." She stood up and walked over to the clothing rack. "I remember how Lauren used to talk about you," she continued, flipping through the hangers. "She always wanted you to be more masculine, more assertive, more like the guy she pictured in her head." I stiffened. "Yeah, she did." Emma pulled out a sleek black dress and held it up against me, eyes sparkling. "But what if you're not that guy?" My stomach flipped. "What are you doing?" "Helping," she said simply. "You said you don't know what you feel. I think you do. You just never let yourself explore it." I stared at the dress. It was ridiculous, crazy, but deep down, something inside me itched. A quiet, unspoken curiosity that had always been there, buried under years of expectations and denial. Emma must have seen the hesitation in my eyes because she grinned. "Come on," she urged. "What's the worst that could happen?" I swallowed hard. I had no answer to that. I held the dress in my hands, the fabric cool and smooth between my fingers. It was absurd, completely ridiculous. And yet, I didn't put it down. Emma arched an eyebrow. What's going on in that overthinking head of yours? I don't know, I muttered, still staring at the dress. I mean, this isn't me. She leaned against the arm of the couch, arms crossed. Isn't it? I opened my mouth to argue, but the words caught in my throat. If it wasn't me, why was I still here? Why hadn't I laughed it off and walked out the door? Emma saw my hesitation and softened her tone. Look, I'm not saying this is some huge revelation or whatever, but I do think you've spent too much time trying to be something you're not. Maybe just try something different. No pressure. I hesitated a moment longer before exhaling sharply. Fine. But if I look ridiculous, we never speak of this again. Emma grinned. Deal. She handed me the dress and pointed toward her bedroom. Go try it on. I walked in and closed the door, my pulse pounding. The mirror loomed in front of me as I peeled off my hoodie and jeans, standing in nothing but my boxers and an overwhelming sense of uncertainty. I slipped the dress over my head. The fabric slid down my body, settling into place like it belonged there. I caught my reflection and froze. I expected to feel like I was wearing a costume. I expected to look like a joke. But I didn't. I looked softer, different. The black dress clung to me in ways that highlighted features I never paid attention to. My slim waist, my delicate shoulders. My heart pounded as I ran a hand down the fabric. A knock at the door made me jump. Okay, moment of truth, Emma called. Come out. I hesitated. I don't think. Nope. No backing out now, she interrupted. I promise, no judgment. I swallowed hard and opened the door. Emma's eyes widened slightly, but she quickly masked her surprise with a warm smile. Damn, she said, tilting her head. You're way prettier than I expected. I flushed. Shut up. I'm serious, she insisted. Hold on, one more thing. Before I could react, she grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward her vanity. What are you doing? I asked, alarmed. Relax, she said, rummaging through a small makeup bag. Just a little touch-up. Humor me. I wanted to protest, but something about the way she said it, the sheer excitement in her voice, made me stay put. Emma worked quickly, dabbing something onto my lips, brushing something over my lashes. You've got such nice features, she murmured, concentrating. Soft. Feminine. I stared at myself as she worked. The person in the mirror was still me, but not me. When Emma finally pulled back, she grinned. There. Now look. I turned toward the mirror and felt my stomach flip. I looked beautiful. The realization sent a rush of emotions through me. Excitement, fear, exhilaration, confusion. This wasn't just playing dress-up. It was something else, something deeper. Something that made my heart race in a way it never had before. Emma studied my reflection in the mirror, then met my gaze. So, she asked gently, how do you feel? I swallowed hard. I don't know. She smiled knowingly. You will. The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions. Every time I thought about what had happened in Emma's apartment, about how I had looked in the mirror and actually liked what I saw, I felt a mix of excitement and fear. Was this just curiosity? A temporary thrill? Or was it something deeper? Emma, of course, wasn't about to let me bury it. We should try something else, she said a few nights later, sitting cross-legged on her bed while I paced her room. Maybe a wig, or a different outfit. I've got plenty. I don't know, I muttered, rubbing my arms. I mean, that first time was just for fun, right? Emma gave me a look. Was it? I hesitated, then sighed. I don't know what this means. And what if someone finds out? What if? She held up a hand. Whoa. Slow down. First of all, no one is going to find out unless you want them to. Second, you don't have to figure everything out right now. Just take it one step at a time. I bit my lip. One step. She nodded. One step. That's how I ended up in front of the mirror again, this time with a shoulder-length brown wig, a casual skirt, and a soft pink sweater. It was different from the sleek black dress, less dramatic, more natural, more me. And yet, when I looked in the mirror, I still recognized myself. And for the first time, I wondered if that was okay. But not everyone made it easy. A few days later, I made the mistake of mentioning to my best friend, Jake, that I had been hanging out with Emma a lot. "You sure that's a good idea?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I mean, she's your ex's sister. Kinda weird, don't you think?" I shrugged, trying to play it off. "She's cool. We just get along." "Yeah." He smirked. "She turning you into one of her little art projects." I stiffened. "What's that supposed to mean?" Jake scoffed. "Dude, she's always into weird, artsy shit. I mean, no offense, but you're not exactly her usual type. Unless she's trying to make you into one of those soft, pretty boys she likes so much." My stomach twisted. Was that what this looked like? Was I just letting Emma shape me into something I wasn't? Or was she helping me become something I had always been afraid to admit? I didn't answer Jake. I just changed the subject, but his words lingered in my mind long after the conversation ended. I should have known Emma wouldn't keep it from her forever. It happened at a party. I had come dressed as myself. Jeans, hoodie, nothing out of the ordinary. But Emma, being Emma, had lightly smudged eyeliner along my lashes before we left. "Trust me," she had said. "No one will even notice. But you'll feel it." And she was right. It was barely anything, just a hint of change, but I felt different. More aware of myself. Lauren, however, didn't notice. "What the hell, Ethan?" she hissed when she pulled me aside. "Are you wearing makeup?" I swallowed hard. "It's not a big deal." She stared at me, incredulous. "Not a big deal? My sister is dressing you up like some doll, and you don't think that's a big deal?" I clenched my fists. Emma isn't making me do anything. This is my choice. Lauren scoffed. "Since when? You were never like this with me." The words stung more than I wanted to admit. Because she was right, I wasn't like this with her. But maybe that was the problem. Maybe I had never been allowed to be. Emma found me after Lauren stormed off, eyes full of concern. "You okay?" I exhaled shakily. "I don't know." She nudged my shoulder. "You want to leave?" I nodded. As we stepped out into the cool night air, she linked her arm with mine. "You don't have to prove anything to her, you know." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I know. But what if she's right? What if this is just something you pushed me into?" Emma sighed, then stopped walking, turning to face me. "Ethan, I didn't push you into anything. I just gave you space to explore something you were already curious about. If you didn't want this, you wouldn't have kept coming back." I looked down at my hands. She was right. I had wanted this, even when it scared me, even when people like Lauren and Jake made me doubt myself. I looked up at Emma, taking a deep breath. "One more step?" I asked. She smiled. "One more step." The moment came unexpectedly. Emma and I were in her apartment, going through her wardrobe again. It had become a familiar routine, trying on different outfits, experimenting with makeup, seeing how far I could push my comfort zone. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was because of everything that had happened, the fight with Lauren, Jake's teasing, my own swirling doubts. Maybe I was tired of questioning myself. Or maybe, for the first time in my life, I was ready to stop hiding. Emma pulled a dress from her closet, a soft, lavender-colored slip dress with delicate lace trim. "This one," she said simply, handing it to me. I hesitated, running my fingers over the fabric. It was feminine in a way I had never dared to wear before. Elegant, effortless. A dress that didn't pretend to be a joke or a costume. It was just beautiful. And for the first time, I wondered if I could be too. My hands trembled as I changed. Emma helped zip me up, then sat me in front of the mirror. "Close your eyes," she whispered. I felt the soft touch of a brush against my skin, the gentle pull of mascara on my lashes. She worked slowly, carefully, as if she knew how important this moment was. When she was done, she stepped back. "Okay," she said. "Look!" I opened my eyes. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The person staring back at me wasn't Ethan, not the Ethan I had always known. The sharp angles of my face had softened with makeup, my eyes framed with dark lashes, my lips painted in a subtle shade of rose. The lavender dress hugged my body just right, accentuating curves I had never noticed before. The long, wavy brown wig framed my face, cascading over my shoulders. I wasn't just dressed up. I wasn't pretending. I was her. I swallowed hard. I look. Emma smiled. "You look like you." Tears pricked at my eyes. I had spent so long being afraid of what people would say, afraid of what this meant. But standing there, looking at myself, I wasn't afraid anymore. I was free. Emma grinned, stepping beside me. I think we need a name. I blinked. A name. She nodded. Something that feels right. Something that's you. A name. An identity. A truth I had never let myself claim. I thought for a moment, then whispered, Lena. Emma's face lit up. Lena, she repeated as if tasting the name. It's perfect. I turned back to the mirror, my heart pounding. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just looking at a reflection. I was looking at me. The real test came when Emma suggested going out. Not to a party, not to some secret gathering where no one knew me, just out. Let's go to a cafe, she said casually, as if it was the easiest thing in the world. Just a normal evening. You, me, a couple of lattes. I froze. Like, dressed like this. She nodded. As Lena. My heart pounded. It was one thing to dress up in the safety of Emma's apartment, where no one but her could see me. Out there, in the real world, people would notice. People would judge. I swallowed hard. I don't know if I can. Emma reached for my hand, her grip warm and steady. You don't have to. But I think you want to. She was right. As scared as I was, there was a deeper part of me, a part that had been hidden for so long, that ached to step outside, to exist as Lena beyond four walls and a locked door. I took a shaky breath. One step at a time, right? Emma smiled. One step at a time. The evening air was crisp, and every step felt like walking a tightrope over an abyss. My hands trembled as I adjusted my coat, my fingers grazing the fabric of my dress beneath it. My heart pounded with every glance from a stranger, every moment I convinced myself that someone would point, laugh, see through me. But then something unexpected happened. Nothing. People walked by, wrapped in their own lives, barely sparing me a glance. The world didn't stop. No one screamed, "That's a guy in a dress." No one whispered, "Look at that freak." The fear had been in my head. Emma nudged me. You okay? I exhaled. Yeah, I think so. We reached the cafe, and I hesitated at the door. This was it, the real moment. Not just walking outside, but stepping into a space where I had to interact, speak, be seen. Emma gave me an encouraging nod. I pushed the door open. The warmth of the cafe wrapped around me. The scent of coffee, the hum of quiet conversations, it all felt normal. A barista smiled at us. What can I get you to? Emma looked at me expectantly. For a second, fear threatened to choke me. But then I thought about everything I'd been through. The mirror, the name, the way I had finally started to see myself. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. I'll have a caramel latte, I said. The barista nodded. And for you. I barely registered Emma's order. I was still reeling from the fact that no one had flinched. No weird looks. No hesitation. Just normal. Emma bumped my shoulder as we walked to a table. How do you feel? I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Like me, I said softly. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. The cafe trip changed everything. It wasn't just that I had gone out as Lena, it was that the world hadn't ended when I did. No one had mocked me, no one had stopped me, and most importantly, I hadn't crumbled under the weight of my fears. After that night, things started shifting. I didn't go back to being just Ethan. At least, not in the way I had before. Some days, I still dressed in jeans and hoodies, blending into the background. Other days, I stepped out as Lena, maybe just wearing eyeliner, maybe going all out. The difference was, now I wasn't afraid to choose. Emma was by my side through it all. She helped me build a wardrobe that reflected both sides of me. She taught me how to do my makeup in ways that felt natural, not like a costume. She was patient when I had doubts and celebrated every small victory, from buying my first dress on my own to introducing myself as Lena to a new group of friends. And then one evening, Lauren called. I stared at the screen for a long time before answering. Hey! A pause. Then, softly, Emma told me everything. I braced myself. And another pause. I don't get it, she admitted. But I was awful to you. And I'm sorry. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I don't expect you to understand, Lauren. I just need you to know that this isn't a joke or some phase. This is me. A shaky breath. Then, okay. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a start. Some days were still hard. I'd catch my reflection and hesitate, wondering if I was doing the right thing. There were still people who gave me odd looks, still moments of doubt. But there was also freedom. For the first time in my life, I wasn't living in fear of what people expected me to be. I wasn't hiding. I was Lena. And that was enough. Self-discovery isn't always a straight path. It's messy, uncertain, and sometimes terrifying. But in the end, the scariest thing isn't stepping into the world as your true self. It's never giving yourself the chance to try. Lena wasn't someone I became. She was someone who had always been there, waiting for me to let her exist. And when I finally did, I realized the world wouldn't crumble. The people who truly mattered, like Emma, stood by me. The ones who didn't understand, that was their journey, not mine. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You don't have to fit into anyone else's expectations. You don't need permission to be yourself. Who you are is enough. And the moment you embrace that, you start to truly live,